Rock and roll will never die. It's Jumpin' Jackson on Amigos, episode 351. Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Jumpin' Jackson. Aaron, who's your favorite Jackson?
Let me think here. Well,
LaToya.
You stole my punchline.
Sorry.
Dude. I'd say Joe, Shoeless Joe Jackson. Remember him?
Yeah.
I believe he was on the Black Sox team that threw the World Series in
1918.
Yeah, that's it. You know all about these guys. What about you?
Michael, MJ.
He's your favorite?
I'm a huge MJ fan.
I don't know, man.
Listen, everybody's got their skeletons.
You got that right.
But
we can both agree the guy could put out some great tunes and was a great dancer. I've been listening to a lot of Jackson 5 at work.
Very underappreciated group. You know?
They were pretty appreciated. And they also had a lot of knockoffs that also stole their shtick. You know, having a band, they had the kids sing.
Well, you know, the Jackson 5, definitely not underappreciated. Everybody knows Jackson. I'm talking about the Jacksons. When, you know, it was after.
No, they were no good.
What? I love the Jacksons.
Name any of their tunes.
That's
what I thought. Yeah.
But I love the idea of the Jacksons.
Why? They're adult versions of the old band?
Yeah.
That would suck.
When was the first time that you noticed people getting older?
What brought that on?
Well, I remember when I was a kid, and you know, I used to watch the Monkees all the time, you know, on TV.
Yeah.
Every afternoon. And then one night on PBS, my parents started watching this show. Was the Monkees?
Yeah.
And they were the Monkees. Yeah, the Monkees in concert.
Yeah.
And for the first time, because I was a kid, I know they were older.
Peter Tork didn't age well.
They were older than they were on the show, and I was like, oh my gosh, everybody that I know is going to die. This was like a shattering thing to me.
This is a horrible opening segment, though, folks.
Well, I couldn't help thinking about it. We were talking about the Jacksons. And I just started thinking about that, watching that Monkees concert. And even back in the 80s, the Monkees looked old. And now, of course,
they were old.
Yeah, and now, of course, they're mostly deceased.
Well, Mickey Dolenz is still around. I
think he died also.
Mickey Dolenz died.
I think
drummer
and Peter Tork and Davy Jones.
What about Mike Nesmith?
Nobody cares about him.
What do you mean? He was the guitarist. He wore a toque.
Well,
did you really like the Monkees?
It's hard
the show?
I don't know.
Did you like their music?
Yeah. I mean, I'll sit there. I'll sing a little "Last Train to Clarksville" on a Patreon song one day.
That is a great song. They got a lot of good tunes. They didn't write them.
Yeah. Well, and some of the ones they did, but some of the ones they did.
You know the funny thing? I've been doing a lot. I've got on this website that has all kinds of rock and roll history. Okay, and this game's got a lot of music in it, so I'm tying it in, right? And I found some stuff out that I never knew. Okay, all your favorite #1 hits, they never wrote them. The same backup band played it probably 30%. All right. And almost all the songs were also covers of other lesser known versions.
Give me one example.
I'll give you an example. You ever heard that song, Mandy?
Yeah, Barry Manilow.
Right, exactly. Everybody loves Barry Manilow, #1 hit, right? I like that song too, Mandy.
Yeah, you gave and you gave without taking.
He didn't write it.
Really?
In fact, wasn't the first to perform it. It was performed many times.
Did Bruce Johnson write it?
No, get this. I don't know who wrote it, but get this. It came from the UK, except over there it was called Brandy.
Really?
He changed the name of it because Brandy, You're a Fine Girl had put out a few years earlier.
That's right.
Bam. No one wrote nothing. I'm telling you.
Did.
It's amazing how many things are covers and how many things were horked. And many of them were released, and also how many #1 hits were B-sides. Tons of them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Music industry, endlessly fascinating.
There you go.
Aaron, I'll tell you what else is endlessly fascinating, and that's what's this week's Amiga News. Sort of a light news week this week, Aaron. We're going to start things off with one of our favorite people in the entire Amiga world, the Huck. Gary Hucker. He's back with a new video, his first in a while. This is his new Amiga. Now, Aaron, you're the one that stooged me into this. Tell me all about this video.
So Gary, Gary is an Amiga guy, a bunch of Amigas. We've known Gary. We've known him for a long time. One of our earliest supporters, and we love Gary. He sent us all kinds of nice stuff. I believe he sent us our first Specky. He sent us a bunch of stuff from down under. And with all the big load of stuff that Gary got, he's got these huge, remember those big loads of Amiga stuff he got in? The one thing he didn't have out of all that was an Amiga 1000, which is funny because for once we had something Gary didn't have. Well, lo and behold, Gary picked this bad boy up. And this video is him documenting the opening and the hooking up of his brand new Amiga 1000. Some places are easier to get these than others. Clearly, Boatster.
Well, I'm trying to think about where this might have originated from. Because obviously the Amiga 1000 is only released in NTSC territory. So this would have had to have been imported from the United States and run through some sort of a step-up converter to run over in New Zealand.
Don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, did they not have PAL?
No.
1000? I
no,
know.
there's no
it's
PAL
funny
A1000.
you say that. I never even thought about it. But now that you mention it, it makes sense. So anyway, Gary goes through here. It's much like mine. His keyboard's a little suspect, although his is just missing some keys. Or mine looks like somebody like left it in a pasture for a couple years. But luckily, it works fine. And Gary loads up one of his favorite games here. I think one of the first things he loads up is like Stunt Car Racer, so which is cool. So anyway, we wanted to say hi to Gary, and they, in fact, he has his Amiga 1000, and it's working fine. And we always enjoy it when people we know have cool videos.
All right, Brock informs me they didn't make PAL A1000, so I could be wrong about that.
I'm taking Brock over you any day of the week.
Yeah.
This is when we drop the tech segment about episode 4 right there. So that's it. Gary, good guy.
Yeah. All right, Aaron. Coming up next, we have this is most of the time, Amiga stuff comes up for auction all the time.
Yeah.
But this is something that I've never seen before. This is a CD-TV trackball and transmitter, wireless transmitter.
Oh, God.
Aaron, now the CD-TV, probably not on people's list of best Amigas of all time, but it does have a following. It does look cool on a shelf.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of any and all trackball peripherals. Give me a trackball any day of the week. What do you think about this thing, Aaron?
Well, I'm sure that it's horrible. Because the old direct line of sight wireless controllers, I had a pair of those Atari 2600 wireless infrared controllers, and these things were garbage. They were so bad that I got rid of them, and I never get rid of nothing. I sold these suckers, and they were crazy. So this, I'll be honest with you, I had not seen this. Well,
here's what I'm thinking. How cool would it be if you had this thing and hooked it up with some Marvel Madness action?
Well, I mean, that would be cool. And I did read this poor fellow had to sell this because he had a vet emergency with his cat.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. But listen, he's got his priorities in line here. But 300 pounds. I don't know, and he's going to sell it for at least that. This thing's
got 7 days left, so it's going to go for much more than 300 pounds. People are going to be interested in this thing, not necessarily to use it, but just because there aren't that many of these things out there. CD-TVs did not sell well, and peripherals for the CD-TV especially. Now, look at this thing. It's got this whole thing hanging off on the right side. Who knows what that's for?
That's what I was looking for.
It also takes apparently D batteries.
Yeah, it's like it takes 2 D batteries, and I wonder how long those last.
Yeah.
This is goofy. I mean, it really is. And this is for the hardest of hardcore collectors that has a CD-TV that they've already jacked it up. They're like, listen, I'm at the end of the line on CD-TV. Nothing I can get's going to be this good. And then this thing hones into view. So the people that are bidding on this, number one, they already have a CD-TV. It's probably already fully jacked out. And they probably got tons of cash. So this could go for 800 pounds. And I wouldn't be surprised. That's pounds. So I wouldn't be surprised if this goes for the big money.
Yeah.
I'd still like to have a CD-TV, but I'm not emptying the vault to get a CD-TV.
When was the last time you slapped some D batteries in anything?
Well, you're asking me that, so it hasn't been that long ago.
Does the what's your robot friend, the 8-track player? Does he take some Ds?
He takes Ds. I think the big tracks take some Ds. Yeah, so there's lots of the take. I think the big tracks takes like 4 Ds.
All your stuff that was serious business took the D
batteries. That's right.
batteries.
Yeah, you got to have the D. The Ds meant they was super powerful. Bro.
Yeah. All right, Aaron. Now this next series of videos come from Crazy Burger. Aaron, have you heard much from Crazy Burger before these 2 videos?
I have. I've watched some of his stuff. If you'll recall, the reason I was turned on to Crazy Burger was because before the Amiga Mini was out, he was doing videos about the games as they came out and what games were what and whatnot. So anyway, I noticed that he had 2, I think, relevant gimmicks this week. Of course, we have got ourselves one of these here, Amiga or A500 Minis, which I'm holding in my hot little hand here. And these things are neat. We had a good time. I kicked the tires, so I had a good time with it. But one thing it comes with is the ability to put your own stuff on.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And these things have pretty much been fully worked out. And so what has happened here is someone's put out a custom download for these that gives you the workbench. It gives you all the WHD load stuff. It's fully jacked up. And in this particular video, Crazy Bird goes through and just tells you what's on it, what it looks like, where to get it, how to install it. I picked it up, and I think tomorrow for my Friday night disaster stream, I'm gonna put that in and actually run through a bunch of these games and see how that goes.
That's very cool.
But I thought it'd be interesting if you have an A500 Mini and you are looking to put the full Monty on here, this would be the way to go.
Yeah, and as a follow-up to that, there's a new firmware update available for this thing, right, Aaron?
Now this has just literally just coming out at press time. As we put the show on, I noticed right when we were coming up, they have updated the firmware, and now it will play ADF files quite easily according to the headline here. So I had a fun they would do this at some point, because when they fully cracked into this thing and saw what was in there, I mean, they could already put ADF files on there. It was just a hassle. So I figured it was a matter of time before they basically just made it less of a hassle. So that'll be nice. Hey, ADFs on your, that was one of the knocks against the A500 Minis, that you couldn't easily play ADF. So this probably will take care of that for you. Again, this is Crazy Burger over on YouTube, Boat. Good guy.
All right, and that's going to do it for this week's Amiga News. It's time, Aaron, to talk a little bit about our favorite sponsor, RetroRewind.ca.
Yes, sir. Now, as we've mentioned many times, our good buddy Frank is the man on the spot when you need some action on your Commodore-based systems. He's got you covered for your recappings. He's got you covered for cap kits. I just did a cap kit yesterday for the Apple II GS on my power supply, and I have years of experience with cap kits and years of experience with soldering and all kinds of good equipment, and it was still a hassle, pain in the butt, right? And I thought to myself, man, I would pay someone money to do this for me. Well, luckily for me, I know Frank, and Frank would take care of business. And I mention this because I've been informed by Frank that he is now beginning a recapping service on power supplies.
Wow.
So, are you one of these people that has an ancient Amiga power supply?
Yes.
That you've been using for 1,000 years?
Yes.
You know, now some people aren't lucky enough to have a box with a Polish adapter in it like we've got, to have a power supply.
Or to have Jason Warren standing by to build us a custom power adapter.
So this is a great service to look into from RetroRewind.ca. Frank is beginning to do recaps on power supplies. An excellent service, along with the other recappings he does. Now, are you looking to buy stuff? You don't need recaps or service. You want to get goodies. Frank's your guy. He's got your multi-carts. He's got the brand new A600 accelerator, hot off the presses. These things sold like mad. So, but Frank's your guy. He's your hookup, the official hookup. One thing I want to mention about RetroRewind.ca, they're not some kind of fly-by-night outfit that just downloads the plans for stuff or steals them, just makes it themselves like jerks. Frank's taking care of business the right way. He gets together with the guys that came up with these ideas. It's all legal. They're getting their cut. It's guilt-free, and you get a good deal. And you can get a better deal through us, Bo, can't you?
That's right. If you use promo code Amigos10 at checkout, you can save 10% off any order from Retro Rewind. And man, at that point, it's like he's giving this stuff away because his prices are very reasonable.
And I want to mention, so of course, Frank's going to be at Boat Fest, but I might as well go ahead to it now. In a few short weeks, Boat, we are going to have International Computer Club, and Frank will be at International Computer Club as well. In fact, he's sort of the one that got me to do this International Computer Club, and we're going to crank one up. This will be the 21st of May, starting at 4:30, down and dirty at 4:30. We've got about 6 people signed up, so we've got a good, healthy amount of people to show, including Frank. He's going to go over some of the latest stuff he's picked up, which is great. So it should be a lot of fun, and we appreciate Frank not just for helping keep the lights on at Amigos, but also helping to do all the special stuff we do, including stuff like International Computer Club and Boat Fest. Thank you very much, Frank. Please check out RetroRewind.ca.
Awesome. All right, Aaron, it's time to jump in to this week's game, Jumpin' Jackson.
I see what you did there, Boat. Very clever. Now, I always ask, so I ask again, Boat, is this one you'd seen in the past?
Never.
Yeah, I'd never heard of this one. It's amazing how many times we've said that, given the fact that we've done this for many years. But here it is
It
again.
just goes to show how many Amiga games are out there.
And the thing is, it's not like I don't ever look through the back catalog. Like, I go through this crap all the time. So, Jumpin' Jackson, it's spelled wackily. It's jumping with a thingy, the jack, and then I guess a space, and then sun.
Yeah, and it's explained. This is explained, of course, in the documentation.
Yeah, the documentation for this is priceless.
Yeah.
We'll get into that in a minute. This came out in 1990 on a disc. You got the 2-player hot seat supported on this thing. And this was published by Infogrames. This is a game that was masterminded by a guy named Christophe Lambourou, if I'm getting that correct. He also worked on the graphics on this. Coded by Damien Petit and P. Skiro, sounds like a Doctor Who villain. And none of these guys did anything else on the Amiga. I was kind of surprised, Bo.
Well, was this originally developed for the Amiga, or was this an ST?
This was an ST.
Okay.
This was an ST port over. The other guy that did the graphics was a guy named Didier Chanfray. Now, Didier did a lot of stuff, including Bubble Ghost, Dune, Purple Saturn Day, Cult, some stuff that we've actually heard of. The music on this was done by Stefan Peak, who also worked on Dune, some other stuff. So these guys, in fact, he's got quite a repertoire of music. This is ECS, OCS, and again, based on the Atari ST release. Would you go into the manual on this before we actually describe the game so it gives you the backstory? Probably should.
Yeah.
So, because you have to read the manual for this wacky game. So I'm just going to read this first part.
Why don't you let me read it?
Oh, would you like to? Go ahead.
There's
bud.
nothing more that I enjoy than reading a good manual.
Feel free.
The bad times have come. Rock and roll is dead. Classical music, yuck, has taken over, and the world's a sad, sad place. You want to get out, but nothing but dusty oboes, creaky cellos, and incredible old conductors waving their melancholy arms around. To save civilization as we know and love it, someone's going to have to find Elvis Presley's first ever record, because that's where the whole soul of rock is preserved in its essential purity. The King cut his historic masterpiece when he was working as a truck driver. He saved up enough to record 2 songs for his mother's birthday. The record was made in a small studio in Memphis, where 10 copies were pressed. Of the original 10 records, only 1 remains. Whoever finds it will free the spirit of rock and roll and save the world from the gloom and despair of classical music.
Man.
Ugh. Before we get some fun back in the world, however, all the great rock and roll records of history have to be collected. There's only one person who can do the job right, the direct descendant of the one and only Jumpin' Jack from Jumpin' Jack Flash, the crazed, amazing 1968 Rolling Stones song written by Mick Jagger and Keith Richards.
That was very good, Bode.
Thank you.
Even coming out of you, that sounded even dumber than when I read it. Because that is one dumb backstory. I wonder if I knew Elvis was a truck driver. Is that true with the whole songs for his mom?
No! None of that is true.
That's cool.
I don't even think Elvis was a truck driver when he cut his first record.
I think he was a truck driver. I think that part's true.
Okay.
And I like the idea that Elvis is making a record for his mom. That's something Elvis would do.
Yeah.
So with that is one wacky. By the way, what did you think when you read this? Since you teach a little classical music, you're kind of a dusty old conductor yourself. How did that make you feel?
Listen, it's funny. I talked when I was at the band director conference in Chicago. I talked to a band director from England.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Man, we just can't get kids to join bands anymore." And I was like, "Well, we're doing okay over here." And he's like, "Well, I think it's because of this Amiga game called Jumpin' Jackson. It told all the kids the classical music was lame.
Who knew?
It was all over after that."
Well, and the thing is, when you were a young man, okay, like let's say 12, 13 years old, what were your thoughts on classical music?
I hated it.
Okay, I did too.
Yeah.
So you could see who they were going
for.
for.
Oh yeah.
I read as an adult, I was like, what? What a load of crap. So. And with that, you are released into the world of Jumpin' Jackson. By the way, the explanation for his name is stupid.
That's the dumbest part of it all. Because first of all, it assumes that anytime that you create a song, I guess it sort of, you spawn a personality into the world. So when Keith Richards and Mick Jagger, because those names are capitalized, in the docs. Whenever they wrote the song, it created a guy, but then the guy got busy and he had a son.
I wonder who the mom is.
That would be Brown Sugar.
That's a good comeback, Bo. That was quick on your feet there. So, Jumpin' Jackson. Let's boil it down. What is this game? It's a wacky puzzle game.
Yeah.
Now, the best way to describe what you do in this game, it's simple, but they just add stuff to it. You play Jumping Jackson. This is a direct downward view. So you're over the playfield. You're seeing the top of Jumping Jackson's head. You see a grid of places that Jumping Jackson can go, and it changes per level. And amongst the things you'll see on the grid are a checkered flag, some record players with no record on them, and some multicolored spots, at least early on. And we'll get to the more advanced stuff. Jumping Jackson has the abilities that, sort of like Cubert would have, is that when he jumps on these spots, they change color, and so does his hair. Which actually, that was a pretty smart move, making his hair change color, because when he's standing on the box, you can't really see the box, so you can't really tell what color the box is. And the way this works is all these different colored boxes can turn into a variety of colors. I think it's like 4, and you have to match up the colored squares to go along with a record player color that's on the level. So, for example, if you're on the first level and you see a kind of reddish pink record player, that means you need to go turn a set of squares into that color, so then you can retrieve a record and then hop back over, put it on the record player, and start that part of the tune up. And what you're doing ultimately is putting records on all these record players so you can play the full song. And once you get the full song going, you can go back to the checkered flag and leave the level. That's pretty much the basis of the game. Then they just go and add extra stuff to it, including enemies you have to run away from, and different types of enemies. Some of them can shoot. They also add teleport blocks, mystery teleport blocks, power-ups, the stuff you would expect in a game like this. So strictly at the basis of the principle of this game, the principle gameplay, what did you think of this?
Well, this is Cubert. This is a top-down Cubert. In Cubert, you jump around, turning blocks different colors to beat the levels. In this game, you do that. It just adds an extra step. You're turning colored blocks colors to collect a record. You drop the record off on the correct player, and when you get all the record players spinning with the records on them, you move on to the next level. This is a good concept for a game.
It is.
It's a good concept.
I like the fact that you slowly build a tune. It makes you want to get all the record players going, and the tunes in this are pretty good. I mean, they're not top shelf tunes, but I think some are pretty good.
Well, we're going to differ on this.
You thought they were top shelf?
No, I thought they were top garbage.
Well, I was trying to. I didn't think they were. No, I thought some of the songs were okay.
This is like if you described rock and roll to somebody that had never heard it, but knew how to work a musical synthesizer, they would compose something that sounds like these songs.
It's eerily similar to something you'd whack at the mall.
Right.
The noise.
Right.
Like
when you used to go over to Pied Piper, and they had the keyboards that would play the various samples.
Like salsa.
Right.
You get that.
Right, exactly.
And then you add some crap in. That's the game.
Yeah, that's
you're
it.
right. That is exactly what happened.
So, in theory, what they should have done with this game was what they did with Rock and Roll Racing, which is one of the great games of all time, also by a European developer. Have you played Rock and Roll Racing before?
I didn't think it was that good.
They used, the game's not that great, but what they did was they used real songs.
Yeah.
Okay? What they should have done in this game, because obviously they don't care about copyright, because the title tune is Jumping Jack Flash.
Well, it's a loving tribute to Jumping Jack
what
Flash.
They should have done was added in a couple more loving tributes instead of whatever original music that they put in here. Because I found myself playing this game most of the time with the music off.
Oh, God.
I found it to be incredibly annoying.
Really?
Incredibly annoying. It reminds me of, there's a series of DVDs, and I think they started out as VHS tapes, called Animusic. And these are really early computer-generated, like CGI models of instruments that are playing themselves. They're really cool. And the music is very similar to this, except it's a little bit better, but it's still not top shelf. I love the mechanic. I love the way that the first record you add, it might be the drum part. You hear boom, chak, and then you might have the bass come on next. That part is awesome. What they should have done was just used, like I said, you should have had some Zeppelin. You should have had some more Stones, and you could have tweaked it a little bit just to be cute. But that would have made the game a lot better for me. The big problem that I have with this game, though, is it's very, very luck-based. This game requires you to teleport around to various sections of the map to either uncover squares or to bring records to record players. And whenever you teleport, you're never exactly sure where you're going to end up. Okay, because it's not you don't teleport. You teleport to just a random square on another board. Okay, and when that happens, you might land on where an enemy is, and then you're dead. Yeah. And there's no coming back from that. That's no good. The other thing I don't like about this game is that you have to beat what's called a challenge level to get a password. And that's also no good because the challenge levels are they're not anything like the levels that you've already beat. And it's it's like a bonus stage where you can make one mistake and you die. And normally in a bonus stage that's fine because you're competing with a little bit of extra score or whatever. But
you know what the bonus stage reminded me of?
What?
It's a combination of Pac-Man and those little things those little triangle games used to get like Cracker Barrel where you fill them out till you run out of spaces, then you bone.
Yeah.
This because you basically run around and basically collect this stuff or enlarge it, but you can't ever screw up. Yeah. And one screw up hoses you.
What Aaron's talking about is there's a wooden block that's in the shape of a triangle, and you use golf tees to jump the other tees, and the idea is that you've got to end up with only one left. That's a lot like what these mini games. That's great. Yeah. That's a great comparison. So I don't mind that mini game, but I do hate the fact that you can't whenever I didn't beat that challenge level and I didn't get the password, I was like, screw this. Because it's no easy, even though these levels aren't particularly difficult, like the first 4 levels aren't hard, but it's a long slog to get through them. It's a long slog. And I wanted to get that password so I could just keep going.
I cheated. I just went and looked at the password.
Okay, well, that's
how I do it. I wanted to ask you about something that happened to me. Now, just to finish up on the fundamentals of the game, you can only get one record at a time unless you have grabbed a jukebox, which will allow you to store, I think it's up to 2 other ones. I think you can have a total of 3, I think it's a total. You seldom will that happen. But and that's part of the strategy, how you can get these records one at a time. And it's got you going back and forth across the maze. And you're sort of memorizing the easiest path to get there.
Some of these, they get devious real quick.
Yeah, and they're I will say the guys that designed this were very clever. But here's my biggest problem with the game, and it's funny. I read a lot about this. I only saw a few people mention it. The controls just get weird in this game, like for no reason. Like I'll be hopping along, and I thought, man, I tried this on the Mister. I tried this on Amiga forever. I tried a couple different ways, and it happened on every one of them. Also, occasionally, Jumpin' Jackson would just go do something weird.
Yeah, he has like a spasm. And he just goes,
I kept looking up to try to figure out what I was doing to cause that.
I never could figure that out either. Yeah.
So if you know why Jumpin' Jackson suddenly goes ballistic, I'd love to know why. But I just had some control issues, if I'm honest. It was driving me nuts, and it was infuriating. Listen, this game is not easy because the pursuers take various shapes. Some crusty old conductors are chasing you that shoot lightning. There's trumpets. There's cymbals. There's all kinds of musical-based bad guys that come at you. And as you get to the later levels, they get really diabolical. Of course, you've got teleporters that just have a question mark on them. You don't know where you're going to go. You've got conveyor belts.
There's random things that appear. You don't know what's going to happen. There's power-ups in this game. You've got bonus food items which give you score. If you put on the shades, get this, Aaron. When Jumpin' Jackson takes the dark glasses, his hatred of classical music reaches such terrifying proportions that the monsters flee for their miserable lives.
But they can still kill you.
I know as a classical musician, whenever I see somebody wearing sunglasses, it makes me uncomfortable.
And I actually got the sunglasses, but the thing is, they run, but they can still kill you.
Right. Now, if you wear the leather jacket, then you get an extra life.
Which I never got.
Okay. There's also a Walkman. The Walkman gives you any one of 3 powers. Invisibility, where'd he go? Well, that's probably not going to help you because you also don't know where he is. It also makes you invincible. It can make you invincible, which makes your hair go insane. It also gives you automatic zone coloring, which is essential for some of these things.
Yeah, I was going to, there's one thing in there will automatically let you win the level, and I got that one time.
Yeah.
The power-ups aren't, they don't come out that often, if I'm honest.
Now, let me tell you something about the HUD in this game is quite good. Okay, because it gives you all the essential information that you need. It tells you what colored record player you still need to activate. It tells you what records you've already activated. It tells you your score. It tells you how many jukeboxes you have. It tells you how many lives you have. It tells you how many cassettes you have. You drop cassettes, and that basically makes the enemies flee.
For a few seconds.
Yeah, for a few seconds.
Those aren't much.
It gives you your score, what level you're on, the time limit, and the amount of guys. They cram a lot of information into this HUD, and it's done very well.
It's not intrusive either. But, I mean, this is another one of those games where really you don't have an offensive power.
No.
Even in Cubert, he could jump off the side. I would like those. But, I mean, in this, you're pretty much, they're coming for you. This game... It's a tough one to judge. I mean, how far into this did you get? I cheated, but how far did you get without cheating?
I played until the end of the first challenge level on game A.
Yeah.
And then I played the first couple levels on game B.
Forget about game B.
Game B gets real hard real quick.
They went to the NES school of difficulty. They had an A and B game. Which when that first comes up, I thought that was odd. I really hope that 2 players would be simultaneous. That could have been fun, but it's not. So that was kind of a letdown. This one is it's a mixed bag. Like, I mean, I think there's enough original ideas here to make it fun. I like the concept. The little guy, we've seen much lamer good guys than Jumpin' Jackson. You know, he's kind of cool.
Yeah.
He's got cool hair. The hair changes. He seems amusing. Like the bad guys in this, they're pretty interesting. They're okay. You know, they fit the bill.
They're fine. Really, to me, what you want in this game, what you want in any puzzle game, is a password after every level. You know, if I was playing this again, I can't tell you how much of a downer that is.
And you absolutely don't get that even if you pass the thing. You still don't get that.
And then the other thing is the teleports. You know, the way that you randomly teleport to a place where there might just be a monster, that's no good.
Well, the control issues, the teleports were annoying. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, and the controls are not great.
The controls are logy. You need great controls in a game.
You
like
need,
that. And
because you're basing, because I don't know if we really made this clear or not, but when you stand on a square, the square will start to change colors about once every half second. It's a pretty rapid change.
When you stand on it. Yeah.
And so what you have to do is you have to wait until the exact precise moment to jump on and jump off.
It's easier just to jump on and jump off until you turn the color.
Right,
That's what I
which you
do.
can do until you get to the later stages when you can't do that.
Yeah. It's... difficulty-wise, did they nail it, or did it get too hard too quick?
If it wasn't for, I think as long as you offer a password system
for every level,
well, you can ramp up the. I thought, like I said, like the first 4 levels, I thought there was a pretty good ramp.
Yeah, because I got to the 3rd level without losing a guy, but I still had some control issues even then. But then I started, because you could get around it because they weren't super tough, but. Every game like this has a password system for just like a Lemmings. There's no excuse for that.
Right.
That's just being silly. I don't know what the deal was on that. Of course, we mentioned that this originally came out on the Atari, and so I did a little comparison here. And really, they are quite almost exactly the same in a lot of ways. I mean, the HUD looks the same. What did you think of using tapes as a defense, though? Did you get much use out of the tape?
No, I mean, really, there's not much you can do if an enemy's on your tail. You can drop a tape for a second, but especially like the cellos are after you, and there's nothing you can do to shake them.
The one thing tapes do is there are many times in this game where you're at a dead end. And if you're at a dead end and you drop a tape, they will turn around. That's one thing they'll do. And if you're quick enough, you can go back and collect that tape.
Get the tape back. I thought that was a nice touch.
It is a nice touch. Like I said, it really is a mixed bag of a game. I don't think you're losing anything. I mean, if you look at the comparison between the Atari ST and the Amiga, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to tell a difference, wouldn't you, Bode?
Right.
So really, there's not a whole lot to it. But this one was tough to judge. And the reviews of the game sort of are along those lines. Before Boat gets to his Discord reviews, I looked up some reviews, magazine reviews. The people at Lemon, they think of this thing pretty high. They give it a 7.45. Looking over the usual suspects here, Amiga Format gave it an 81. Amiga Joker Boat gave us an 88. They were down. The Games Machine gave it 84, and the One gave it a 62. The overall magazine average was 79%, so right there at a very high C or a low B.
That's where I'd go with this.
What did the Discord folks think about this one, Boat?
David Hearn Ryder writes, Jumping Jackson, who looks like Beaker from the Muppets if he'd been run over by a steamroller,
yeah, he does,
was a cute arcade puzzle game with awesome music, as each record added a track when you completed the level. Novel. The story about classical music instruments trying to destroy rock music is ridiculous but fun, just like the game itself. The first lot of 16 levels were tricky to beat, the second lot were hardcore. The powers and weapons were a bit lame, but the puzzle action itself was addictive. Clever game design, easy to pick up, hard to master. I had a lot of fun with this one. 8 out of 10 rock records. Bumface Pooh Hands, writes, what do you get when you cross Qbert with the Rolling Stones? Jumping Jack's son. It's not clear if he's the son of Jumping Jack Flash or Mick Jagger. Well, yes, it is, Bumface. You better read those docs, man. But he certainly is infringing on copyright with his title music. The game itself is not a terrible concept, and it's fun for the first few levels. Bounce around, paint colors, collect records, and avoid trumpets. And he says this game predates the ska punk crazy of the late 90s when all rock bands were mandated to have a horn section. Actually, when you think about like Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels, there's tons of classic rock and roll.
I've been listening to so much stuff. I think everybody should still have one.
Yeah. By level 6, when you're getting run over by a massive drum, it's starting to grate. By level 7, when an equally giant cello is chasing you, it's time to change the record. For a game that wears its rock and roll influence on its sleeve, the game is more trash than thrash.
Oh.
And I just can't get no satisfaction.
Oh.
Just stick on your favorite rock and roll record and play some Qbert instead. Bumface Pooh Hands rating, 2 hands up, 1 bum down. And finally...
What does that mean?
I don't know. Pajago6502 writes, at first, Jumping Jackson has some nice concepts. However, after a couple of levels, it becomes noticeably clunky to control, making some levels tricky to navigate. Jumping on key squares multiple times to color them is cool, but it soon becomes an annoyance when you mistime your movement, which you will do a lot. Teleports feel tacked on, as they don't really add anything, and some teleports are random, so luck more than strategy starts to come into play. Teleports will transport you to a teleport square, but that also means that baddies can teleport right on top of you without warning. You can freeze enemies by standing on checkerboard squares, but then you aren't moving either, and given that baddies move randomly, having everything standing still gives no real benefit. Nice colorful graphics, but Jackson is quite messy looking from a top-down viewpoint. The music elements of building up a track is a great concept. Overall, the game needed a little more polish, but it's not one for me. 5 out of 10. And finally, Jumping Jackson comes to us from Lord Soup. He says, polished, yet not a huge amount of fun to play. Good for a go every now and then, but not mega compelling. Just about a 6 out of 10.
You know, I'm sort of in that same area. I mean, listen, if you're a real puzzle head, you might really enjoy this. I think there's a lot to it. I do think you said something I thought was spot on. It seems like some of the stuff they kind of maybe threw in. You know, it's the way it sort of feels, because I think the core of this game is pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to have seen less teleporting and some. I would like to see something better than the cassette as a weapon or something, or maybe the ability
Give me
to
the
leap.
old Mr. Dewball.
How about the ability to leap higher so you can jump over the
Pac-Mania style.
That'd be kind of fun. I mean, you can see where that would make it a little bit more interesting. You know, it's funny, you were killing the music on this, and I was reading a lot of the reviews on Lemon, and that was one of the universal things with this game. Everyone thought the music in it was really good.
Well, these are people that listen to mod files.
Well, I love mod files.
Yeah.
Bo, you have first of all, you're a dusty old classical music conductor.
True.
That's probably part of it. But I think this is one that's certainly worth having a look at. Oh, I did look this up on eBay, Bo, just to see what it was going for. And surprisingly, there weren't a ton of these around. You can get one complete in box. Now, it's a Spanish version, so I don't know if that just means... I can't remember if the manual was multilingual. But anyway...
It was multilingual.
It was from the UK, $73 or best offer complete in box. The discs alone were going for $19-20. So I'm assuming they didn't sell too many of these.
Yeah.
So there you go, Bode.
Well,
An
Aaron,
interesting game.
before we leave Action Jackson,
Yes, sir.
actually, you know what? We're going to leave Action Jackson. Screw that guy. Before we move on to our community updates, Aaron.
Yes, sir.
We are nearing the 1 month mark away from Boat Fest.
Oh my gosh, you're right, Boat.
And we have sold more than half of the available tickets for Boat Fest at this point. And I have a feeling that we are going to be sold out of this event by the time it's all said and done.
None of the locals have bought their tickets yet.
Right.
So they're probably going to buy them at the door. So I would say that, yeah, we're running out of room here.
Yeah, so if you are interested in attending a vintage computing festival in the heart of West Virginia, we are located about 3.5 hours from Columbus, Ohio, about 3 hours from Cincinnati. We are about 4 hours from Pittsburgh. So if you're anywhere in sort of that eastern seaboard location and you want to come to a really fun event, boatfest.info is the place to check it out. We're going to be having 30 plus classic computers and consoles there. You can bring your own stuff. We're going to be having contests, door prizes. We're going to have live tapings of all of the Amigos shows, plus Sprite Castle. Rob Flack O'Hara is going to be there. We're going to have live repairs on site done by Retro Rewind. Frank and Jason Warrens are going to be repairing machines while we're there and talking about their work. If you want to get stuff repaired, this is the time to bring it over to those guys. Like I said, there's going to be giveaways and trophies and contests, karaoke. Your dreams will come true at Boat Fest.
Wow, don't reveal it. Also, you've got a Coco lying around. Curtis Boyle will be there as well.
That's right.
And he could probably give you all sorts of... In fact, I guarantee he'll make it his business to give you the full scoop on the Coco, brother.
That's right.
It should be a lot of fun. We've been talking with the Brent this week. They've got a bunch of stuff percolating. I'm looking forward to it. And I know some people are going to be bringing some of their own stuff here. Should be a lot of fun, Boat. I'm very excited about Boat Fest.
Yeah. All right, Aaron, what's been going on over on the Amigos Retro Gaming YouTube channel?
We did have a couple items this week, Boat, and this one I'm going to let you speak on because you literally saved our bacon to a certain degree on getting this game made, or not made, but played, and that is, bam, Sundog.
That's right. So Sundog was a game long in the making because the first we planned on doing it a month earlier. We couldn't get it to run right.
Yeah.
And so we finally got it sort of working, and we're able to give it a pretty good review. I thought an overview of all the mechanics. This is a game, Aaron, that was really far ahead of its time in terms of what it tried to accomplish, especially on this Apple II version. But the ST version, gave it sort of a graphical facelift. And it's a really, really deep, fun space trading game that gives you a lot of action on the planet side itself.
Yeah, if you're a fan of Elite on the myriad of systems that it's on, I honestly suggest not only do you check out the game, but check out the episode to hear about the game, because this thing, I would say, matches up to Elite quite favorably, Boat. And it's got a lot of extra stuff that you wouldn't normally get in Elite. It was a big surprise to me, this one was. And what made it more surprising was the fact that it wasn't accepted well in its own time, and that they never got to make the sequel.
It's funny, Aaron. I attended a classical music concert on Tuesday.
Oh, Dusty Old Conductor.
That's right. And they played one of your favorite pieces. They played The Planets.
Oh, yes.
And I was surprised reading the concert in the program notes. The Planets was not accepted in its own time either. They thought it was a piece of garbage. No critics reviewed The Planets well. And, of course, now it's one of the most famous classical pieces of all time. So it just goes to show.
Hey, I wanted to mention, we had one of the commenters on this mentioned this, because we talked about it during the show. Why were there no sequels? Well, there were two planned. And they were called Old Scores to Settle and Blows Against the Empire. This guy mentioned. So that was something we wondered about. Because this game sort of ends abruptly, although I should have mentioned this during the Jumpin' Jack. Did you see the ending of Jumpin' Jackson? It just goes back to the title screen.
Oh yeah, I did.
So it really that's abrupt as hell. So anyway, check that out. That's the Atari ST show. Listen, you don't have to be an ST fan to check it out. You should go in there and give it a whirl. The ST has a lot to offer. We've learned a lot about the various interesting games that are on there. We're doing pretty much ST exclusives with a few exceptions. And this one was only released on the ST and the Apple, so it's pretty rare. I would check it out. Be playing this on the old GS. Maybe we can get it to work on there fully, but
that would
there
be
you
great.
go. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get into this one. Myself and the Brent, you may have heard of him. He's shifty as the day is long. We spun the wheel this week on ARG. We made the deal, and the deal was the N-Gage.
Mm.
The N-Gage, the Nokia N-Gage. Did you ever play with one of these back in the
Never,
day? Have you ever?
never.
You know anybody that had one?
Never.
Because this is right about the time you'd be wheeling and dealing.
I remember when these were sold in stores. I remember everybody mercilessly making fun of these things.
Well, the fact that you had to pop the back off, take out the battery, and switch the games.
Not good.
That is baffling.
Yeah.
And the fact that you held up to your ear and it looked like you were some kind of moron, cybernetically enhanced ear that you had sticking out. These were a horrible...
Side talking.
I mean, the engineers that put this together should have stuck to driving trains.
Yeah.
Because these guys had no idea. So we get into... And let me tell you something. ARG, it's our new thing. Emulate the unemulatable. Because this week, last week it was this, and our next show, our upcoming show is going to be games that you play on calculators.
Oh my god!
I spent all week trying to emulate the TI-84 Plus. You kidding me? I still haven't got it working right. So I had to play this on Britt's phone this week. So if you're interested in watching me and Britt struggle mightily, but we have a good time on this, and the N-Gage is sort of a fascinating topic to get into, and you'd be surprised at the amount of big named people that had games in there. Your Segas, your EAs, all these guys had all their best
MLB
stuff.
The Show.
Sure. I mean, Sonic the Hedgehog was on this thing. Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the big titles. So they were hedging their bets, I guess. So that's what we had cooking this week on the Amigos Retro Gaming Show. Now, if I could call your attention to our Amigos Stream Team channel.
Yes.
Got a lot cooking on there this week as well. First thing I did, I uploaded it. It's a stream I did a while back. This is the good thing about the Amiga Stream Team. I get to pull these streams out of storage.
Mm-hmm.
This is my old Psygnosis exclusives on the PlayStation stream. We get through and play a lot of games that were exclusive on the PlayStation, or just had maybe one or two other ports. Some pretty rare stuff, including all kinds of wacky stuff that reminds me so much of their Amiga days. It's unbelievable. Also, I just for fun, I threw in the old-time radio show at the beginning of this one, too. So, if you're interested in watching some wacky Sony PlayStation stuff with Psygnosis, this would be your stream. We also, this is our new thing, the ARG pre-show. This week, you get to hear Britt complain about his job, and I tell the full story about my car breaking down last week in glorious color, both. So, if you want to watch me and Britt whine about things, this is the show for you.
Fantastic.
Listen, you know it went down. Here it is. It's Jack freaking Flack. I watched this last night. This is hot off the presses, by the way. This is Sprite Castle plays random games. That's not really what this is. Actually, is a Sprite Castle looks at a bunch of crazy demos and openings that he was involved in.
Oh.
This is the Flack's old cracking group. He pulls out
what do they
the
call
dirt.
his cracking group was like
OK Crackers.
Cult of the Dead Cow.
Oh no, the Cult of the Dead Cow's a whole other thing.
Oh, okay.
But this is Flack. He goes through his whole history of dirty cracks, and by that I mean he would just copy stuff and put his name on it. You know, or they did crack stuff, how they got it, what they did, the way that they made their little openings.
Mm-hmm.
It was very interesting. If you're into that sort of scene, it was pretty fun. At the very end of this, I think he actually plays. I'm trying to remember what he played here at the very end. He played something or another, but for the most part, it's a lot of it's demos and him talking about these openings they made. It was quite fascinating. This is the kind of stuff you're not going to see anywhere else. I mean, this is Flack was there doing this stuff on the C64. He was involved in the scene. I mean, it's the kind of coverage you're not going to see on any other show. It's very fascinating stuff. So I beseech you, check this out. Also should mention that the newest Sprite Castle that's out is on Maniac Mansion, boat. So
do you ever watch the Maniac Mansion live TV show?
He mentions it on the show because it had a lot of SCTV alums in it, but no, I've never seen it.
Sometimes I sing the theme song to myself in times of trouble.
Well, I don't know what to say about
Maniac
that.
Mansion.
I do want to mention that by the time this airs, there will be one last item on the Amiga Stream Team channel. That will be the very last fragments, boat, of last year's Amigathon. It's the TSI boys, the T-Speaker regulars, and our 2.5 hour City of Heroes stream.
All right.
It's got your usual suspects on there, plus myself and the Brent show up in this thing. It was a great time. And City of Heroes playing on our bootleg server. Don't tell anybody. But we had a lot of fun. So that should be coming up here sometime in the next 10 hours or so, Boat.
Cool.
But I think that's all we've got, my friend.
All right. Well, Aaron, last week's Patreon Song Challenge. course, if you've listened this far and you'd like to support our weekly wacky Amigos or Amiga podcast, you can head on over to patreon.com/Amigos podcast, and you can be featured on the Patreon song itself. We had 2 correct responses from last week, Aaron. Now, Aaron, did you get that one?
I can't even remember what it was. Honestly, I don't remember.
All right, I'm going to tell you the name of the song, and you
right.
can tell me if you've heard it before. It's called "Oh You Pretty Things."
No.
Okay.
Who sang that?
This is a song by David Bowie.
It sounds like something from Parliament.
Yeah, it does. But Chris Morris got it right, and so did Mitsuyama.
Well done.
So
yeah,
congratulations,
that's
guys.
a deep cut right there.
So it was a single.
Deep cut.
Now, this week, if you know the Amigos Patreon song, you can send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com, and I will read you as a winner next week. If you know it in the chat, if you're watching this live here on the chat, don't put it in the chat. Send it to me. All right? Here we go. R-type of bum-face blue hands, Chris Edwards pencil along, Albert Kemp, we like what we like, Mr. Chip, Peter Price, and V, Wanderly Cheshire, Margaret Sutton, David Earl, Ram-OK, David Terrace, Matthew Mobius, Phantom Magnus, Seth Yates, Alistair Fiend, David Z, George Rosansky, The Amiga Show, Daniel Crabtree, Superfan, Mick King, Crazy Loomis, William Vinter Heavy Systems Inc. Bundy, Frag Lord, Mark Island, Olavo, Alien Breeder, Dave Velociraptor, Calvert Boy, Lane Vincent, Daniel Williams, Luke Hansen, Bob the Bass Roader, NL, Solid Sizer, Tech Mage, you got Mr. Cola Bernard, Lucas Jerry, Teddington, Sorghum Reflection, Simon Rich, Captain Crispy, Killer Bassin Caffeine, Gay Heather Lois, Clear Fox, Tim Pick, Cameron Armstrong, Andy Jones, Obsterminator, 10-minute Amiga, Redcast, Bruno Quinn, RMC, Tim Drew, Simon Joseph Harrison, Kyle Heddy, Raul Harry, Matthew Moore, Andy, Craig Sean, Sanzo, Mark Midrow and Dick, and Max, the Zombie, Nicky Line, Alec Bob, Jack of the Devil Lord, John Marshall, Matthew Baron, Ricky Doo, Rush, Creepy Dead Boy, Vicky CTZ, The Slow Nose, Stefan Goldman, St. Evan, Helen Mistful, Hassel, Chris for Lauren Giroux, Graham Debkey, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Richard Vintage, Gary Huckle, Paul Harrington, Duncan Stastrom, The Crypt, Just Out, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rouleau, T.H.E. Eric Nelson, Daniel Bixton, Derek Coles, Jason Woods, Bixton, Don, Gilbjorn Barman.
Oh man, it's like someone gave one of the Bee Gees a wedgie. You know what the worst thing of the week is? I'm gonna tell you, is hearing you sing and then looking over at the paragraph because he's got the words and seeing that you're like 1/3 done. That is the worst feeling. It's like, oh man.
You might not be alone in that.
I think I got some of that. I think you went a little crazy there. We'll see how that goes. Yes, I think so. Yes. Man.
All right. So, Aaron,
yeah.
we do want to thank the fine folks that watch us live on Twitch. Most of the time we record the show on Friday. Today, we had the old ball game.
Oh, man. These things are killing me.
Friday.
3 of these suckers this weekend.
So, I do encourage all of you on Discord to check the show schedule channel. It's right above the Amigos channel. You can see when we have to shift the schedule. But we want to thank those fine viewers and watchers of our Twitch, and we'll do that now. So we want to say a shout out and a thank you to Eeyore4077, Mitsuyama, Blow Jellyfish, Grepwald, Daha, Krabs MTG, Amiga Live, Frodo NL, Oil of Hope, RetroRewind.ca, Darkwing 602, Real Retro Dude, Twilight Zoner, Grizzla, Back to 8-Bit with Hermsky, John Marshall 3, Luminate08, Christian Russell, Buck Owens, The Mr. Chip, Wide World of Retro, Rushi MSX, Barkbit, Mash Pie, OROM, Canadian Retro Things, Great Al G, Retro Jerry, Wing Chun Wolf, Explorer, Duncan Styles, Level Lord, Disastrous, Pixel Rages, Pakotake, Holy Guacamole, Petzel, Hoob, Janus 88, Gustavo Hits, Pishbot, Gary Heather, Texas Foosballer, Amy Steph, Jigglebox, and Monza Mess. Thank you guys so much
Thank you.
for supporting us on Twitch. All right, Aaron, the time has come to unveil next week's game on Amigos.
Oh man, are you ready?
What is it?
I don't know. Let's find out. Take him to Detroit. Did you ever hear of this one?
No.
Who thought that's a good name for a game?
Listen, when this game was made, Detroit was still a garbage place.
Detroit, the game where you run a failing city. Good luck with that water problem.
Don't call 911.
No.
They're not coming.
No. We wag on Detroit because we love them. Have you been to Detroit?
I've been to Detroit.
I have too. What'd you think of it?
It's just as bad
it's
as
large,
they say.
isn't it?
Well, I've only been to the downtown area. That's where I saw Dave Gahan of Depeche Mode.
You know, they've got a nice museum up there, art museum.
Well, if you go outside of Detroit, like the Henry Ford Museum is super nice, I've heard. They've got Marvin's Marvelous Museum of Mechanical Implements. Yeah, there's a bunch of old coin-op machines and stuff.
Detroit was a victim of its own incredible success. And that's the way it goes, you know. Big city. Hey, Charleston was the same way in a small version.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
By
absolutely.
God, we're going to play Detroit like we love Detroit, Boat. Next week, all Detroit. What's your favorite ball team from Detroit or sports team?
You got to go with the Tigers. I mean, you want to go with the Lions?
What about the Red Wings?
I don't watch hockey.
Oh, man. Well, there you go.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks as always for listening and or watching. We will see you next week. Until then, adios.